The orbital station above Velthor Prime drifted like a silver ring laid gently against the dark. Inside, the Galactic Council sat around a long oval table, each species quiet, each face tense. The lighting was soft, the air cool, and the windows looked out over the blue-white curve of the world below. 1,000 ships had once gathered here for celebrations and festivals. Tonight, the docks were empty, and the silence was heavy. Ambassador Thalrin of Velthor rested his hands on the polished surface. His crest of pale feathers trembled with worry. He had served 3 terms in this chamber and believed in order, in slow and careful talk, in trade and treaties. Now, the old rules felt thin. Messages from the frontier had arrived in a rush. A colony gate lost. A relay tower abandoned. A mining moon silent. People were afraid to sleep. They watched the starfield and waited. "The distress call has gone to every allied channel," said Counselor Aurea from the Gentle-Water world of Tel. Her voice was calm, but her eyes moved quickly from face to face. "We have shared coordinates. We have shared our reports. We have explained the pattern. The Zarn Dominion advances, and we cannot stop them alone." "The border fleets will not come," said Administrator Rel, his mouth tight. "They have already explained their positions. Their ships are engaged with other threats, or their homeworlds are under strain. They send warm wishes, but no ships." Thalren studied the window. Velthor's cloud tops swirled like slow white ink. He tried to imagine the first meeting of stars long ago, brave explorers, bright flags, and he wondered how it had become this: messages, excuses, delay. He took a slow breath and lifted his gaze to the table. "Even if no one answers," he said softly, "we will hold." Yes. The room turned to him. It was not a boast. It was a promise made of duty and habit, like a sailor tying a knot in the dark. Before anyone could reply, a soft tone sounded. The station AI warmed the air with a clear voice. "Incoming signal on wideband emergency channel. Non-standard encryption. Language handshake in progress." Decoding now. There was a pause, a shimmer of light on the screen, the faint hum of translation engines working hard. Then a single line formed across the main display, clean and simple. In a font the system chose for clarity. "Human Expeditionary Fleet en route. Stand by." No one spoke. A quiet, breathless surprise spread around the table like a cool wind. Some had heard the word human in quiet corners of archives, or seen it in cargo manifests tagged with warnings: extreme gravity origin, resilient biology, unusual problem-solving behavior. Others had never seen it at all. A few had grown up with little stories, told like myths: a lone ship under a red sun, a tiny crew that would not leave a stranded station, a strange species from a harsh and changeable world called Earth. Humans. Counselor Aurea blinked. "Are we certain?" The AI answered. "Authentication checks complete. Signal is genuine. The sender identifies as the 5th Expeditionary Fleet, Human Cooperative Space Command." Administrator Rel shifted in his seat. "How far?" "Hyperspace signatures are consistent with approach from the Perseid corridor," the AI said. "Estimated arrival within 1 planetary cycle." A figure at the far end of the table, an older archivist named Per, cleared his throat. "Humans. I have a record. Category 9, Deathworld origin. Environmental volatility beyond standard tolerance. Seasonal storms. Microbial density high. Apex predators numerous. Plants with defensive chemistry. The report concludes that any sapient species from such a world would be adapted to uncertainty. It notes, unusual creativity under pressure. Deathworlders, someone whispered, not unkindly, but with a careful distance, like speaking the name of a deep-sea current. Thalrin lifted his crest slightly. He remembered a line from a page he had once studied out of curiosity. Deathworlders are not dangerous because they seek to harm. They are skilled because they must persist. He did not know if the line was true. He only knew the station was quiet. The planet below was gentle, and the dark beyond the windows felt too large. "Please open a channel," he said at last. Channel ready, the AI replied. Thalrin stood. His posture was formal. His voice, when it came, was steady. Human Expeditionary Fleet. This is Ambassador Thalrin of Velthor Prime. We have received your message. The Council thanks you for your response. We face a strong enemy. We will share maps, codes, and all data we hold. Please advise your arrival procedures. The reply came with no delay. Warm, direct, and clear. Velthor Prime. This is Commander Alina Voss. 5th Expeditionary Fleet. We will enter orbit on the far side of your station to avoid interference with your civilian traffic. Our intention is to assist, stabilize, and support. Please transmit your priority sites and any urgent medical needs. Her tone was calm. Not heavy, not cold. It was the voice of a person who expected plans to become actions. The Council breathed again. The tension lowered just a little. Transmit everything, said Aria, her fingers moving swiftly over the panel. All known Zarn positions, all impact zones, all civilian shelters. Let us be clear and complete. The hours that followed were full. The station's planning rooms lit up with maps. Lines of light showed supply routes, sensor sweeps, and possible ambush points. Human ships were still silver ghosts in the dark, but their digital presence was already in the network, asking careful questions, confirming details, closing gaps. Shifts came and went. On the ground below, at a base carved into the rose-colored cliffs of Canyon Ridge, a young Veltharian soldier named Keel leaned on a railing and watched the horizon glow. He had stood watch many nights, memorizing the curve of land and the dance of heat lightning far away. Kamer, the older tech beside him, rubbed a hand across his face and smiled without humor. They say help is coming, Kamer said. From far away? From where? Keel asked. From a blue world with many seas, said Kamer, as if telling a child a peaceful story. From storms and tall trees. From old mountains. They call the people their humans. Keel turned the word over in his mouth. Said Kamer. I once saw a picture in a training file. 2 humans standing in snow. They were smiling. The file said the air was cold enough to bite. I tried to imagine the feeling. Keel looked back at the horizon. In the dark, he felt small, but not lost. I can imagine it, he said softly. Maybe it feels like the first breath at the start of a long run. Clear, sharp, awake. Above them both, beyond cloud and sky, the human fleet arrived. There was no fanfare, no bright music. Only a thread of light lengthening across the black as the first ship slid out of hyperspace, followed by another and another. They were large but not proud. Their hulls were a quiet gray, shaped for function. Faint blue lines ran along their sides like gentle rivers of light. The station's sensors recorded their mass, their number, their positions, and then, for a second, the room fell still, as if the machines themselves took a respectful breath. Velthor Prime, came Commander Voss's voice again. We are on station.
Welcome,
Thalrin said. The word carried more than politeness. It carried relief. Docking schedules formed, then rearranged themselves as human ships made space for civilian traffic. For arriving medevac craft, for small cargo boats bringing fresh water to the lower habitats, it was an unexpected thing, a fleet moving like a careful guest. Crew lines formed and moved. Containers slid from rails into waiting cradles. Human drones, smooth, compact machines with a soft hum, drifted out and began to scan. Not for boasts, but for leaks, stress points, and weak seams, the quiet places that fail under pressure. Thalrin watched the largest ship rotate. The name across its side was set in clear, unfancy letters, HCS Meridian. He repeated the word in his mind. Meridian. A line that people choose to measure the sky, a way to find north, a way to keep time. Ambassador, the AI murmured. Commander Voss requests permission to address the full council by secure hala. Granteth, Thalrin said. A moment later, the air at the center of the chamber brightened, and a calm figure appeared. a human woman in simple gray duty, where she had a practical haircut and clear eyes. There were small lines at the corners that suggested long days, many decisions, and a steady habit of listening. "Members of the council," she said, "thank you for receiving us. We are here to assist you in protecting your world and your people. We do not ask for tribute or territory. We ask for clarity. Please confirm your priority list, and we will align our teams." Administrator Rel spoke first. "Commander, we respect your speed. We are grateful. Our first priority is Canyon Ridge Base. It protects a cluster of civilian shelters in the lower valleys. If it falls, the shelters are open to risk." "Understood," said Commander Voss. "We have trained teams for terrain like yours. We will deploy a relief group to Canyon Ridge. We will not move your people. We will reinforce them." Counselor Araya leaned forward. "Commander, we have seen the Zarn advance before. They punch through fronts. They do not negotiate. They do not answer questions. They do not share plans. They are," she searched for a word that was true and also kind, "fast." Voss nodded once. "Fast is a kind of strength. So is careful. So is quiet. We will be all three." They began in that spirit, careful and quiet. Human analysts took in a flood of data and returned it in simple shapes, lines, circles. Notes with small icons and modest titles like "Bridge at 17K shows aging and support lattice." The first rays of dawn stretched over Canyon Ridge, painting the valley below in golden rose. Velthar Prime's wind whispered through the cliffs, carrying dust, sand, and the faint smell of hot stone. The Zarn Dominion had not yet been sighted, but their presence was felt in every nervous glance, every tightened grip on a weapon. Soldiers moved in silence, checking equipment, double-checking supplies, and reviewing the maps the humans had provided. Commander Alina Voss stood at the edge of the ridge, looking over the valley. Her gray suit was simple, but functional, marked only with the emblem of Earth, a small blue globe encircled by stars. Her eyes scanned the terrain, noting every rise, every dip, every shadow where an enemy could hide. Next to her, Lieutenant Mira adjusted a small drone, sending it forward to map the ridgeline and the approach routes in real time. "This ridge is tricky," Voss said softly, "not to alarm anyone, just to set the tone. The Zarn will use the narrow paths to force us into a kill zone. We have to control their approach and make them overextend. Keep every unit ready and communicate constantly." Keel, the young Veltharian soldier, stood with his squad. They were still in awe of the humans, of their calm precision, their quiet confidence. He remembered the first day when the humans arrived. Their footsteps had been steady, their hands steady, their voices clear and patient. Even under the pressure of chaos, they seemed to thrive. And that calm had spread to the Veltharian forces. Myra's drone hovered overhead, its sensors capturing every detail. She tapped her wrist console and displayed the live feed on a portable holomap. "Commander," she said, "we have identified 2 primary approach routes the Zarn are likely to take. Route Alpha is exposed but fast. Route Beta is slower, but offers cover. We can use both to set traps and control their advance." "Good. We'll split our forces. Alpha will be the bait, Beta will be the trap. Remember, the Zarn rely on speed and overwhelming force. We'll make them pay for every step." The humans began organizing the Veltharian squads with gentle authority. They did not demand obedience. They guided, suggested, corrected. Small groups were assigned clear objectives, and every member knew exactly where to be, what to do, and when. Even the youngest Veltharian recruits felt a sense of purpose, as if the humans' confidence had infused the valley air itself. By mid-morning, the Zarn scouts arrived. They emerged from the distant hills like shadows, stretching across the stone, sleek, dark, and fast-moving. They moved in tight formations, their armor reflecting the sunlight in harsh glints. A warning flare shot into the sky, and Veltharian sensors lit up. "Alpha is approaching," Keel said, voice tight but steady. "They're faster than our scans predicted." "Stay calm," Voss replied. Her voice was calm but firm, a quiet anchor. "Remember the plan. Watch your sectors. We are ready." The first skirmish began with a flurry of plasma fire, the bright streaks cutting through the dusty air. Veltharian soldiers ducked and returned fire where they could, but it was the humans who turned the tide. They moved with uncanny precision, coordinating attacks, covering each other, and using the terrain to their advantage. One human team deployed small drones that floated silently above the Zarn, releasing nets of energy that tangled armor and slowed their advance. Keel watched as a human medic dashed across the open valley, carrying a wounded Veltharian soldier. She moved with careful speed, keeping low and protected, yet every step was deliberate, confident. Keel felt something shift inside him, a mix of awe and hope. The humans were not just warriors. They were protectors. As the morning wore on, the battle lines shifted. The Zarn realized that they were facing more than a standard defense force. The humans anticipated their moves, countering attacks, and using the Zarn's own speed against them. Veltharian soldiers gained confidence, moving with the humans, coordinating attacks, and learning new ways to fight. In a quiet moment behind the ridge, Voss met with Thalrin via secure comms. "Ambassador, the troops are holding," she reported. "Your people are brave, and they respond well to direction. We will continue to reinforce the front lines and secure the valley. No one will advance without resistance." Thalrin exhaled slowly. "Commander, you underestimate the difference this makes? Just your presence alone has changed everything. Veltharian soldiers are fighting with purpose now. For the first time in weeks, they feel hope." Voss smiled softly. "Hope is the first weapon, Ambassador. Keep it strong, and the rest will follow." Meanwhile, in the valley below, the Zarn regrouped. Their commander, a tall, angular figure with silver eyes, scowled as he studied the battlefield. "They expected us," he hissed. "The humans. They anticipate every move. Adjust the Alpha Squad. We cannot lose our advantage." Back on the ridge, Voss watched the enemy shift, predicting their next steps. "Beta route," she whispered to Mira. "Prepare the trap." By midday, the trap was set. Humans and Veltharians worked together to place energy mines, snare lines, and sensor arrays along the slow route. Every move was calculated, every placement deliberate. The Zarn would advance, and the humans would use the enemy's confidence against them. Keel's heart pounded as the first Zarn units entered the trap. The mines detonated with precision, slowing their advance and forcing them into narrow corridors. Human sharpshooters picked off high-value targets, while drones disrupted communication. Veltharian soldiers followed the plan, moving with newfound skill. Their actions synchronized with the humans' guidance. The Zarn were taken aback. They had expected fear and hesitation. Instead, they faced coordination, courage, and relentless determination. Every step forward was costly. Every attempt to flank was anticipated. By late afternoon, the Zarn began to retreat, their formations broken, their morale shaken. The humans did not pursue recklessly. They maintained control, ensuring the Veltharians were safe and no one was left behind. Keel knelt beside a wounded comrade, grateful for the human medics who worked quickly and efficiently. He looked up at Voss as she surveyed the valley, her expression calm but alert. "They are incredible," he whispered. "They are humans," Voss replied simply. "They survive where others would falter. They adapt, they endure, and they protect. That is what makes them strong." As night fell over Canyon Ridge, the valley was quiet once more. Fires burned in controlled areas, marking the positions of the fallen, while medics and engineers worked through the night. Human teams patrolled the perimeter, ensuring no surprise attacks could succeed. Thalrin observed from the station, a deep sense of relief settling over him. The humans had arrived when no one else would. They had brought more than weapons and strategy. They had brought hope, discipline, and quiet strength that inspired every species present. In the darkness, Keel looked up at the stars. He could see the silhouettes of human ships hovering in orbit, silent guardians against the unknown. He understood something profound. Humanity was not just another species. They were a force born of survival, resilience, and unyielding courage. And the Zarn Dominion would soon learn that underestimating humans was a mistake it would not survive to repeat. By midnight, Commander Voss gathered her teams. "Rest for now," she said. "Tomorrow, we consolidate our positions and prepare for any counterattacks. Remember, we protect, we endure, and we adapt. That is our way." Keel lay in his tent, the sounds of the valley drifting through the air. He felt a sense of calm he had not known in weeks. Humans were here. They had shown what was possible. And tomorrow, he would fight not just with weapons, but with the confidence that they would not face the darkness alone. Above the valley, the stars stretched endlessly. The human fleet remained vigilant, silent, and steady. The Deathworlders had arrived, and the first chapter of a battle that would change Velthor Prime. And perhaps the galaxy had begun. The wind whispered through the cliffs, carrying the faint scent of smoke and dust. And somewhere in the quiet, hope had taken root. Dawn came slowly over Velthor Prime, painting the valley in soft gold and pale pink. Canyon Ridge stood quiet but tense, like the moment before a storm breaks. The Zarn Dominion, humiliated by the previous day's failed attack, had regrouped. Scouts reported their forces massing beyond the eastern hills. A dark sea of moving armor and weapons that stretched as far as the eye could see. The Council in orbit watched nervously. The tension of the entire planet focused on the ridge and the humans who had arrived to save it. Commander Elena Voss stood at the crest of the ridge, her eyes scanning the distant hills. She had studied the enemy movements through the night, coordinating with Veltharian scouts and human drones alike. Each unit's position was marked on her wrist console, every possible approach considered, every threat anticipated. Unlike most military leaders, Voss moved with a calm precision, speaking quietly but decisively to her officers. Letting the weight of preparation settle into action without fear. "Lieutenant Mira," she said, pointing toward a narrow ravine, "their main advance will come through here. Our traps need to be ready. Veltharian units, human units, focus on synchronized firing. Every step they take will cost them twice what it costs us." Mira tapped her console. "Traps are set, Commander. Energy mines, sensor nets, and snare lines are all operational. Our drones are in position to cover the flanks. Nothing will pass undetected." Keel, standing with his squad, felt the tension in his chest. He had fought the Zarn before, but never like this. Every human soldier moved with quiet confidence, giving precise instructions, correcting positions, guiding the Veltharian units as if they had been doing it for years. Keel looked at them and realized something he hadn't before. These humans were different. They were forged by worlds harder than this one, trained in survival, endurance, and intelligence that did not rely on sheer strength alone. The first wave came in silence. Zarn scouts crested the ridge, moving with speed and coordination, expecting fear and hesitation. Instead, they found humans and Veltharians waiting in perfect formation. The first shot rang out a calculated volley from human sharpshooters, and a Zarn scout fell before it could call for backup. The others hesitated, unsure of what they faced. Voss gave a soft command. "Hold your ground. Wait for the trap." Then the ravine erupted. Energy mines detonated in precise succession, throwing the Zarn into chaos. Sensor nets restricted movement, and drones fired stunning pulses that disrupted communications. Veltharian soldiers, guided by human officers, moved quickly to secure the flanks, capturing or disabling any stragglers. Keel's squad advanced under the direction of a human lieutenant, their movements smooth and coordinated for the first time. The Zarn commander, watching from a hill, realized his mistake. They are too coordinated. They anticipate every move. Adapt. He hissed, but it was too late. Every plan the Zarn had relied on, every advantage of speed and numbers, was being nullified by careful strategy and unyielding human resolve. As the battle intensified, a group of Zarn soldiers attempted to flank the ridge from the north. Human drones intercepted, guiding Veltharian units to block the path. A small team of humans, led by Mira, moved silently through the cover. Disabling the Zarn armor with precise shots and careful timing, Keel watched them and felt a surge of awe. These humans were not only fighters, they were protectors, problem solvers, and leaders who inspired those around them to do more than they thought possible. By midday, the main body of the Zarn advance had stalled. The traps and precise fire had taken their toll, and the morale of the enemy began to falter. Human teams moved among the Veltharian units, reinforcing weak points, ensuring communication, treating the wounded with efficiency and care. Every action was deliberate, designed not just to win, but to protect life. Voss paused on the ridge, scanning the battlefield. Her eyes were calm but sharp. Focus on the next wave. Keep the lines tight. Remember, every person we protect is a victory. In the valleys below, Keel saw a small group of humans carrying wounded Veltharians through the open. They moved quickly, carefully, without hesitation. He realized that the humans' greatest strength was not only their skill in battle, but their courage to face danger without sacrificing care for others. He felt a deep respect for them, and a quiet confidence settled in his heart. The Zarn, frustrated by repeated failures, launched a desperate assault at the center of the ridge. They poured soldiers and plasma fire into the narrow paths, trying to break through the human and Veltharian lines. But every move was anticipated. Humans repositioned their units with calm precision, countering every advance. The Veltharians, inspired by the humans' confidence, fought with a level of coordination they had never achieved before. Commander Voss observed the enemy's pattern, noting weaknesses in their formations. She tapped her console and issued a single command: converge on the center. Use suppressive fire and cover the flanks. Force them into the trap. The attack executed perfectly. Energy mines, drone interference, and coordinated fire funneled the Zarn into a confined area where every movement was costly. Panic began to spread among the Zarn soldiers, their disciplined formations unraveling under the combined human and Veltharian tactics. Keel watched in amazement as a group of humans moved through the chaos, rescuing stranded Veltharian soldiers and neutralizing threats with minimal risk. By late afternoon, the Zarn commander realized that his assault had failed. His forces were broken, scattered, and demoralized. Retreat was the only option. Human and Veltharian forces maintained control, allowing the Zarn to withdraw under pressure without pursuing recklessly. The battlefield was quiet, marked by smoke, scorch lines, and the careful placement of supplies and medical aid. Voss moved among her teams, checking positions, confirming status, and ensuring that every unit was safe. "Well done," she said quietly, "but remain vigilant. We may face another wave." Keel approached her, awe still in his eyes. "Commander, your people. They are incredible. I have never seen such skill and care in battle." Voss smiled, her expression calm but firm. "We survive by protecting each other. Strength is measured not just by what we destroy, but by what we preserve." As night fell over Canyon Ridge, the valley was illuminated by controlled fires marking strategic positions. Medics worked tirelessly, treating the wounded, while engineers repaired damaged equipment. Veltharian soldiers moved with a newfound confidence, guided by the human presence. Every action was deliberate, coordinated, purposeful. In the council chamber orbiting the planet, Thalrin observed the outcome. The humans had arrived and turned the tide of battle. They had brought more than strategy and weapons. They had brought hope, discipline, and a quiet, unyielding strength. He spoke to the station AI, informed Commander Voss that her efforts are recognized. The Veltharian people owe her and her fleet their deepest gratitude. The AI responded. Message transmitted, Ambassador. Back on the ridge, Voss gathered her teams for a brief rest. Tomorrow, we consolidate our positions, reinforce the weak points, and prepare for any counterattacks. Remember, we protect, we endure, and we adapt. That is our way. Keel lay in his tent, listening to the wind and the distant hum of human machinery. He reflected on the day's events and realized something profound. Humanity was not just another species in the galaxy. They were survivors, protectors, and leaders who inspired others to rise above fear and uncertainty. Above the valley, the human fleet remained vigilant in orbit, silent guardians against the unknown. The Deathworlders had arrived, and their presence had changed not only the outcome of this battle, but the course of hope for Velthor Prime. The stars stretched endlessly above, but they no longer felt distant. Humanity's arrival had bridged the space between despair and hope, showing that even in the darkest moments, courage, intelligence, and compassion could turn the tide. And so, under the quiet night sky, Canyon Ridge rested, ready to face whatever the Zarn might bring next. Strengthened by the arrival of the humans and the unyielding spirit they had inspired, the wind whispered through the cliffs, carrying the faint scent of smoke and dust. And in that whisper, the promise of survival, unity, and triumph echoed softly, a promise that the galaxy would not forget,